God is my employer. I am on God's payroll, and I suggest that you get on God's payroll too. Hello, my name is Joana Fatondji, and I want to talk to you about how it is now the time for you to claim your digital real estate, to build your personal brand, and to create a real business from who you are. All right. So let's dive right in. I want to speak to you about a decision that I made today. So today I said I am leaving my last thread of security, a little bit of security. It wasn't even that secure, but for my mind, it was. So, what did I do? So, if you want to know a little bit about me, I have always been a good speaker, a good communicator, and I have realized that. And then after my studies, I have made that my profession. So, the way to make money for me has always been sales, right? Because it really grew out of my true passion for communication, not because of selling. I love selling, and I'm going to teach you how to sell as well. That's part of my original method. And I'm passionate about teaching women who have inhibitions to sales to actually do that from the heart. But with that being said, I have also worked in corporate sales, and I know that I can sell. It's very easy for me. So, the last thing now, before I am now fully claiming my throne on YouTube and on other digital platforms, I have now held on to a threat of sales until today, and that was in real estate. So, just for you to know a little bit about my timeline, the last corporate job that I left is almost 6 months ago. I worked for Uber Eats to be exact. I was the field sales executive, like onboarding all of the restaurant partners, right? So I have done that, and then I left the job, and then I have been holding on to the threat of, okay, I'm going to go into real estate now. I love real estate. I love interior design. I love real estate. It is in alignment with my passion and something that I love. But today I prayed, I meditated, and it has been lingering for me that it is time for me to leave that threat behind and fully commit to building this online presence, to show up, be seen, be heard as me in my full capacity, in my full authority, because I have asked the stars again, literally diving into my astrology, human design, and gene key chart to just confirm again, like my natural talents, right? There are so many ways to find your zone of genius or your natural talent. And I am a believer in the astrology and gene keys and human design. They draw from that as well, right? There are other modalities encoded into gene keys and human design. But I that's also what I teach in the original method, to use those modalities to show you, to confirm, not to lean on it too much, but just to confirm your natural inkling already. And one thing that I know is that I am a communicator, I am a teacher, I am everything that I say that I am. And again, I prayed and I said, it is time for me to fully step in, because my mind is so full and I cannot, and this is what I teach, I'm not good at compartmentalizing myself, especially now at the, let's say, at the beginning phase of really establishing my legacy with this digital footprint as well. I want to give myself at least the next 6 months to fully get into the groove of establishing my digital real estate, my digital ownership. And that's also what I always will tell you, to do that too. And I started the video by saying, get on God's payroll, right? I have been doing that for 10 years now. I have taken risks over and over again in terms of money. I have invested over 100,000 euros or dollars, whatever, into my personal development, into investing in coaching programs, mentors, courses, embodiment, business, travel, all of that. I've done it again and again, always, mind you, always from a quite empty bank account. It was never that I had the money laying around. It was never from a fund or something like that. No, it was always from faith. It was always from faith. I remember the first time I ever invested in my personal education was even before I invested in mentorship. But the first investment I made was to become a holistic nutritionist. So I went through the traditional school system. I'm from Germany. So I went and studied international business. I got my first job in corporate as an international accountant, and I quickly realized that's not my path. I have to explore more. And then after a little bit of other searching in the social entrepreneurship field, and finding out how I could make money changing the world, that has always been for me the mission, always those two threads. And this is exactly what I'm still doing, like 15 years later, right? How can I change the world with business? So I've been dabbling there. And then I found the certification program for becoming a holistic nutritionist. And at that time, I didn't even have my own place because I've already then left my job and said, I'm going to find my purpose. And I then was looking, and then my mom came around and she said, look at this, here is a course, like this certification program. I thought about you. And she proposed it to me, and I said, that's exactly what I want to do. And I remember the first investment were like 5,000 euros, and up until then it has been the biggest number. I have never until that point invested that kind of money into me, into my education. But I said, I'm going to do it. As confident as I was back then, I said, okay, let me call them. Hello, do you take installment payments? And they said, yes. So I'm in. All right, good. And the path unfolded. I love sharing that story. So the path unfolded. I said, I'm going to do it. I was so ready to do it. I did it. The first installment was probably 10%, so around 500 euros. And what happened after that was magical. And that's exactly what I'm sharing. It is, I invested, I put down the down payment, then I went to Berlin. So, mind you, I live in the west of Germany, around North Rhine-Westphalia, and I had to go to Berlin to do it, and everything worked out. So, I said, I'm going to do it. And then I went to Berlin for the first week of the training, and it was perfect. It was good. I loved it so much. And I think by the second week, it was always a block, like one full week and then 3 weeks off again, and then again another full week and then 3 weeks off again. And I think by the second full week, they asked me, the institution and the people working there, they asked me if I wanted to work for them because they just like the way I did things. Because again, and I'm going to share that more and more on this platform because this is my sanctuary now. Like you're in my house. Okay. So why I'm saying that is because this is literally now for me the foundation of the life that I'm building, because I am such a homemaker. Like I am the embodiment of the mother, right? I am a Cancer sun. I'm the Cancer sun, and that's how I move through the world. Okay. So I went into this institute being a student, but then I like to have like everything under control and see things and what needs to be done and what needs to be cleaned up and things like that. That's just how I am. So I did all of that naturally, just being me. And they saw that and they said, okay, Joanna, we need somebody here. Like, can you imagine working here when you are not having your own course? I said, oh my God, yes, absolutely. I love it. It was so perfect. It was so in alignment with everything that I love because I wanted to learn. I love immersions. I love diving deep into the world, into the topic, not just learning by book, but being in it. So I was in Berlin more often. I worked in this holistic food health institution, which at that time was a hub for the best teachers in Germany and all around Germany in this whole health and alternative food, nutrition, health, detox, all of that, right? I was there and it was so beautiful because I could just be me, being the mother of the house, right? Cleaning up, preparing food, tasting a little bit, right? Behind the scenes, because if you're the one in charge of the kitchen, maybe you know that you're always the one who tastes things first and last, right? Like I loved it so much. And again, mind you, this is how I could pay off my investment. Because as I said, I took a risk. I said, I'm going to do it. I didn't know where the money was coming from, but I trusted it. So I did it, put down the down payment. And now I'm working in the field while making the money to pay off the rest of my education. The next step, it gets better. The next step was because they loved my work in the institute so much, then the owners, they then asked me if I could see myself working in a hotel they just acquired, and they're now starting the season because the I think the training began around the beginning of the year, and then summer season for most hospitality institutes is high season, right? So I worked in the institute and then they asked me to work in the hotel. It only got better. It only got better. So now I was like, and mind you, I had no place to stay, right? I already left my apartment. So I was not tied down by a place. I didn't have to pay rent. And it was just perfect for me to move all the way to the east side of Germany, work by the sea in a like retreat area, in a retreat hotel, which was all about facilitating retreats and detox and healthy food. Oh my God, that was the jackpot, right? So I schooled, then I worked in the institute, and now I worked in this whole it's a retreat hotel. Perfect. Perfect. I could pay off the investment by working and learning even more. I love this story so much. I could tell it again and again. This was the first story. This was my first story of faith, of trusting in God, on being on God's payroll, on following my intuition, on following my calling, on following my curiosity, being me, showing up as a useful person, and then being invited to work there. Work in the institute, then working in the hotel. Best time of my life. It was magical, magical. And things like that have happened again. Like today, I just want to share that little gold nugget with you. And I am at a similar time again. Just now, I am the teacher, right? It's the beginning of a new chapter, of a new era. And I'm like, okay, let me release the ties to a world that is more predictable, stable, right? This real estate thing. And I just cut the ties today and I said, no, I am going to fully immerse myself in building my digital real estate and building my personal brand, building my business, and sharing my stories and being visible. And literally, this is my sanctuary. Welcome. If you feel drawn to me and my work, come deeper. The sanctuary, it's where it's at. This is the place of my community and where I host all of my events and also have my programs there. So that is the next level on school. You find the link in the description box. But already this space here on YouTube is my home, is my sanctuary. You're in the middle of it. And yeah, I just want to let you know that if you are called to learn to build your personal brand, you are the source, right? To learn about the system that we live in, right? To build your own product, to build your own service from who you are, from your experiences, from your knowledge, from your expertise, and then build your digital real estate, because this is the place now, right? This is where your shop is happening. This is where people get to see you, get to hear from you, get to know you. Right? If you're ready to do that, I'm here to support you with the original method. Just let me know in the comments down below and I'll give you more details on it. The program is about to start. And if you're feeling called to just create a life that you truly desire, that is yours, follow it on God's payroll, on God's support, because I truly do believe that when you follow your heart, your soul's desire, you will be provided for. You will be looked out for. You will be, yeah, you will be on God's payroll. It's going to happen. So I hope my story gave you something that you remember about your life as well, because sometimes I know we all have stories like that, but we forget. And that's why I think it's so important to tell them again. All right. So whatever it is that is your takeaway, let me know in the comments down below. And are you ready to be on God's payroll? Are you ready to follow your soul's calling without 100% knowing how it's going to unfold? And are you ready to take the leap into the unknown, knowing that you will be provided for? If so, again, let me know. Let me know in the comments down below. I read all of them. I'm here for it. I want this community. Come, come, come. Let's talk. And I just want you to know that you are a force of nature, and I want to see you act like it. All right.